Welcome to Retro Scale Modelling. This is part 12, the final part of the Airfix Avro Vulcan B.2 scale 172. In part 11, I made up the bombs and placed them into the bomb bay. I also made up the access hatch that goes at the front of the plane underneath, and just done a general bit of tidying up on the plane. In this part, I'm going to be doing the painting as well as putting the decals on before finishing off the build. At the end of the build, there'll be a slideshow showing you the model and its entirety and seeing how it looks with the cutaway section. So let's get into this. To begin with, I'm painting the base grey colour, and this will be Umbro 165 medium sea grey. As you can see, I'm painting in light small circles, just laying down this first coat. It will take around about 2, possibly 3 coats before the grey is done completely. When you're painting something this large, it's always best to paint in sections. So for instance, like this delta wing, have a look and see how the patterning on the wing is, then just pick a section to paint before going on to the next one. That way you're sure to get an even coat as you're painting, and you won't be going back over any work you've already done. The first coat's on now, and I've changed to a larger brush, but I'm still painting in the circular motion. The reason why the larger brush, obviously it's a bigger area. Now that the first coat's down, I can see how the paint is laying down on the kit, and I can start getting into the paint properly. That's the grey colour done, as you can see here. Now I've put on a coat of varnish, and it's time to mask off for the next colour. So I'm taking strips of masking tape here and just laying it down into the pattern. Now I generally do this freehand. I hardly ever use masking tape for these types of patterns. The reason for that is if you put on too much paint by accident, you'll end up with a ridge where the masking tape is. Then you have to deal with that. So I always find it easier just to do it freehand. But I thought, and this time around, I'll use the masking tape to show you how easily it bends when it's cut into thin strips. And I know a lot of people prefer to use the masking tape, hence why I'm using it. As you can see, it is thin strips that I'm using. Of course, Tamiya do a curved tape as well for this purpose, but I don't think it adheres to the plastic all that well. It does have a habit of lifting up, especially when you're painting over the tape to prevent a light bleed. So I would recommend just using normal masking tape for the job. Once the basic part is laid out with the masking tape, I'll just take the normal width size masking tape. This is 6mm I'm using, and I'm just going over the thin lines now to create a larger border. That's just in case you go over your line, and it makes more sense really. It also helps indicating which parts have got to be painted, because as you're in the middle of painting, your mind may drift, and before you know it, you're painting the wrong area where you masked off. And once that's done, it's another coat of clear to seal everything in to try and stop a bit of paint bleed. Now you may get a bit of paint bleed here if you haven't laid over the masking tape 100%. There may be tiny little cracks showing that you can't see with the naked eye. So just be aware of that. For the dark green colour, I'm using Umbro 163 dark green, and once more I'm using my smaller brush, and I'm just painting those little round circles. When I'm painting onto the tape, however, I'm lifting up my brush, starting on the paint and working onto the area I want painted. This helps stop paint bleed as well, because effectively if you're brushing onto the tape, you're effectively lifting the tape up, and obviously you don't want that to happen. This green is quite thin, so I'm going to need 1 or 2 coats more than I did with the grey. probably going to take about 3, possibly 4 coats before I'm happy with the colour. I'm now just finishing up on the last coat. It was actually 3 coats in the end that I used for this, but it went fairly well. When the time comes to peel off your masking tape, make sure your paint is 100% cured before you do that, because there is a danger of lifting up the edges of your paint. So just be aware of that, or do it when it's still wet as and you just put it on. I would recommend that. Some people do it, but you do get a sharp line as well, you know, and you can deal with any paint bleed then if necessary. So there's a couple of ways of doing it. Just find the best way that works for you. And once the masking tape's off, it's time for another coat of varnish. So this is Pledge Clear. I should point out though, if you're going to use Pledge Clear, try and put as thin amount as possible on. The reason for this is if you have it on, put it on too thick, you're going to get runoff, and that will collect on certain parts of your model and can leave a brown residue. So make sure it's as thin as possible when you're putting it on. For the black flash at the nose, it's 84 cold black. I've put a little bit of masking tape around just because it's a difficult angle, so I'm making sure I don't go onto the grey or white. And it's the same colour for the area just before the instrument panel. For the life of me, the name of it has gone out of my mind, but that's 85 cold black as well. The first colour I'm putting on the canopy is 163 dark green. Now I'm just putting a little bit of masking tape on here so I can get the centre line and just marking it off, then removing it. The reason why I'm doing that is, of course, I'm not going to be using all the canopy. I'm going to be cutting this in half, so I only need to paint so much of it. It's a fairly life-size canopy, so I'm just going to be painting this freehand. The key to painting the canopies freehand is trying to do them in one smooth stroke each time you apply the brush to the area. Don't stop and start, just keep on one smooth motion and you should be alright. If you do go over the edges, just use a cocktail stick or matchstick or something to rub off any excess paint. And then it's 165 medium sea grey for the rest of the canopy. I placed it, light the tape down the centre line of the canopy, then I'm taking my knife and just throwing the knife down the canopy to split it in half. If you're going to do this, make sure you've got a brand new blade in it. You need a really sharp blade to do this. And be careful, 1, you don't slip and cut your fingers. 2, you don't slip and ruin the canopy. This is a very difficult process to do. Only attempt it if you're 100% confident about doing it. Practice on other clear bits of plastic first. They tend to be thinner than your normal plastic, so just be aware of that as well. But after a few passes with the knife, you can see it just pops off. Don't be tempted just to snap it off after 1 or 2 passes. Make sure the blade is right through most of the plastic before you do it. And that's the canopy cut in half. I'm using Formula 560 canopy glue to secure this. Every time I use this, I will mention it does 1 dry crystal clear, and 2, it doesn't give off any fumes, so it will not fog up your canopy when you use it. It takes a little bit longer to dry than normal cement, but it is worth using. And once cemented, it is just a simple case of placing it on to the fuselage. You're going to have to hold this down for a little while so it's secure, because obviously, yet again, because it's a cutaway, only a small bit of it is getting contacted with the actual build, with the fuselage. By all means, use a bit of tape to hold it down. For the front probe, it's 165 medium sea grey once more, and for the tip, it's Rebel 90 silver, and that just pops on right at the front, no issues whatsoever. The very last piece of the framework's going on now. This is just a stabilising bar. First of all, I will be trimming down the nose cone section to fit into the shape of the nose cone section. But for now, I'm just making sure that everything is at the right angles and so forth. It's time to put on the decals, and as you can see, I've fast forwarded this part. There's not that many decals to go on, obviously because I'm only decaling half the model up. There's very few go on the underside, and some of them are so small you may not want to bother with them. I put them in anyway, but you can barely see them. I don't think they'll even turn up, show up when I take a photograph of it, but we'll see. On the top side, slightly less decals than the underside, but you can see these better. And they all go on the normal way, putting them in some solution to soften them up, put some decal solution on the area, and then brushing on your decal. So that's the decals on, and I've also put in another coat of varnish. I'm just now doing little finishing touches here, particularly on the nose cone. I've trimmed it down a little bit so it's in keeping with the shape of the nose cone. And now I'm just applying pigments in various other places, just touching it up to finish off the build. I really enjoyed this build, particularly the scratch building aspect of it. I know it's not 100% accurate. There is some issues with the build through mistakes on my own and not having the proper materials and whatnot. But overall, I'm quite happy how it's turned out. It was quite an easy kit to build if you're doing it as intended. I would recommend this kit for most people, even beginners. It goes together really well, which you would expect being a new kit. There's not too many decals to worry about, and the detail in the cockpit is doable even for a beginner. So everyone can do this kit, and it's all up to the builder how much they want to get into, how much they want to put into it, I should say. If you haven't done so already, why don't you check out the channel for my other builds? There's various amounts on there now. If you subscribe to the channel, you'll be notified of any future builds I've got in the planning. Hit that like button, and of course, leave a comment. The reveal video will be up shortly, but in the meantime, thank you all very much for watching. Bye bye.